questions from 16 to 23. Among the evil quartet, which one is considered the most important causing extinction of species? Habitat loss and fragmentation, or exploitation for economic gain, alien species invasions, co-extinctions? Solution: habitat loss and fragmentation is the most important cause driving animals and plants to extinction. So option A, habitat loss and fragmentation, is the correct answer. The historic convention on biological diversity, the Earth Summit, was held in Rio de Janeiro in the year 1985, 1992, 1986, 2002. The historic convention on biological diversity, the Earth Summit, was held in Rio de Janeiro in the year 1992. So 1992, option B, is the correct answer. Which of the following is not a method of ex situ conservation? National parks, micropropagation, cryopreservation, in vitro fertilization. In situ conservation means on-site conservation. That's when we conserve and protect the whole ecosystem. Biodiversity at all levels is protected. National parks are type of in situ conservation, whereas micropropagation, cryopreservation, and in vitro fertilization are methods of ex situ conservation. So option B, C, and D are methods of ex situ conservation. Ex situ conservation, and option A, national parks are type of in situ conservation. So option A, national park, is the correct answer. According to Robert May, the global species diversity is about 50 million, 7 million, 1.5 million, 20 million. According to him, the global species diversity is about 7 million. So option B, 7 million, is the correct answer. The Earth Summit held in Rio de Janeiro in 1992 was called for immediate steps to discontinue use of CFCs that were damaging the ozone layer, to reduce CO2 emissions and global warming, for conservation of biodiversity and sustainable utilization of its benefits, to assess threat posed to native species by invasive weed species. The Earth Summit held in Rio de Janeiro in 1992 called upon all nations to take appropriate measures for conservation of biodiversity and sustainable utilization of its benefits. So option C, for conservation of biodiversity and sustainable utilization of its benefits. Which one of the following is not a method of in situ conservation of biodiversity? Secured grove, biosphere reserve, wildlife sanctuary, botanical garden. Botanical garden comes under ex situ method of conservation of biodiversity. Option D, botanical garden is ex situ method, ex situ but not in situ method. So option D is the correct answer. Pollen grains can be stored for several years in liquid nitrogen having a temperature of -120 degrees centigrade, -80 degree, -196, -160. Pollen grains can be stored for several years in liquid nitrogen at -196. This is also called as cryopreservation. So option C, -196, is the correct answer. All of the following are included in ex situ conservation except wildlife safari parks, secured groves, botanical gardens, seed banks. Secured groves comes under in situ conservation and represent the pristine forest patches around places of worship which are held in high esteem by tribal community. Cutting of trees and branches is prohibited due to religious reasons. Wildlife safari parks, botanical gardens, and seed banks comes under ex situ conservation. Wildlife safari parks, botanical garden, and seed banks comes under ex situ conservation, but secured groves are included in situ conservation. So option B, secured groves, is the correct answer. Alexander von Humboldt described for the first time laws of limiting factor, species area relationships, population growth equation, ecological biodiversity. Alexander von Humboldt described species area relationship for the first time. He observed that within a region, species richness increases with increasing exploited area, but only up to a limit. Option B, species area relationship, is the correct answer. The region of biosphere reserve which is legally protected and where no human activity is allowed is known as buffer zone, transition zone, restoration zone, core zone. Core zone or natural zone area of biosphere reserve is undisturbed and legally protected ecosystem. No human activity is allowed in this zone. Little human activity is allowed in buffer zone, whereas in transition zone, an active cooperation is present between reserve management and local people for activities. Co-zone option D is the correct answer. How many hotspots of biodiversity in the world have been identified till date by Norman Mears? 17, 25, 34, 43. Biodiversity hotspots are a method to identify those regions of the world where attention is needed to address biodiversity laws and to guide investments in conservation. The idea was first developed by Norman Mears in 1988 to identify tropical forest hotspots characterized both by exceptional levels of plant endemism and serious habitat loss, which he then expanded to more global scope. Currently, 34 hotspots have been identified, most of which occur in tropical forests. So, option C, 34, is the correct answer. The species confined to a particular region and not found elsewhere is termed as alien, endemic, rare, keystone. Endemic species is confined to a particular area due to spatial type of adoption according to that region. So option B, endemic, is the correct answer. A species facing extremely high risk of extinction in the immediate future is called vulnerable, endemic, critically endangered, extinct. Critically endangered, the taxon facing very high risk of extinction in the wild can become extinct any moment in the immediate future. So option C, critically endangered, is the correct answer.